Hello, I'm Lily, and I'm here to tell you about the secret Pomeranian chronicles everyone forgot. Thomas Kantzow, died 1542, was a chronicler in the Duchy of Pomerania. He studied at the universities of Rostock and Wittenberg, and was a secretary of the Pomeranian dukes. His manuscripts, rediscovered in 1729, 1832 and 1973, are written in Low German and Standard German language, and were printed in the 19th and 20th centuries. They contain a Low German and 3 Standard German chronicles covering the history of Pomerania until 1536. Forgotten Tale unveils the surprising life of a remarkable Canaan, and now we'll delve into his biography. Kantzow was born in Stralsund. His year of birth is uncertain. A date around 1505 is suggested by Kosgarten 1842 and in the ADB. No reports about his parents and his childhood survived. The earliest report of Kantzow is in the University of Rostock's matriculae. This entry covers a matriculation period from 29 September 1525 to 1 April 1526 and reads Thomas Kantzow Shundensis. Kantzow's matriculation was accordingly dated to AU 1525 by Kosgarten, to probably 1525 in the ADB, to 1526 inches the NDB, and to verifiably 1526 by Berger 2001. In Rostock, he probably graduated as a Magister of Theology, before he is reported as a secretary of the Pomeranian dukes in 1528 and thereafter. Until 1532, Kantzow was secretary of the Dukes Barnim IX and George I at the court in Stettin, now Szczecin, but followed Philip I to the court in Wolgast after the duchy was partitioned between Barnim IX and Philip I, nephew of the deceased George I. As a ducal secretary, Kantzow participated in the implementation of the Protestant Reformation in Pomerania. In the spring of 1538, Kantzow was matriculated at the University of Wittenberg, probably as a member of Pomeranian Count Ludwig von Everstein's entourage. In Wittenberg, Kantzow was instructed by Rector Philip Melanchthon while upholding contacts to Pomerania. He continued to hold several prebendaries and benefices, which he had obtained from the Pomeranian dukes for his secretary services. In 1542, he left Wittenberg due to an illness, and on 25 September died on his way home in Stettin, where he was buried in St. Mary's Church. A peculiar tale of a forgotten breed and a hidden legacy unfolds. And now let's delve into the details of the secret Pomeranian chronicles everyone. In contrast to Johannes Bugenhagen, who in 1518 based his Latin Pomerania on a limited amount of sources from abbeys and printed sources, Kantzow also had access to the extensive ducal archives, where he gathered most of the information for his chronicles, and further derived historiographic information from archaeological remnants, inscriptions, coins, folklore, eyewitness accounts, and own experiences. The table below provides an overview of the major chronicles written by Kantzow. Manuscripts. Manuscript title: Year written Fragmenta der Pomerischen Geschichte before 1538 Ursprung. Allzeit VND Geschichte der Volker VND Land Pommern, Kashuben. Wenden VND Rugen before 1538 Ursprung. Allzeit VND Geschichte der Volker VND Land Pommern, Kashuben. Wenden VND Rugen before 1542 Pomerania, Ursprung. Allzeit VND Geschichte der Volker und Land Pommern, Kashuben. Wenden. Stettin VND Rugen before 1542 von Loper Collection. Lörpische Sammlungsstreimel -1834. Gesellschaft für Pommersche Geschichte und Altertumskunde Stettin, 1834-1855. Sammlung Samuel Gottlieb Loper, Provinzialarchiv Stettin, 1855-1942. Wartime evacuation to Martenthin and West Germany, British Zone, 1942-1948. Arcuum Panstwau W. Chessany, 1948. A peculiar tale of a forgotten breed emerges, revealing a hidden history of the secret Pomeranian chronicles everyone forgot. The first chronicle written by Kantzow was Fragmenta der Pomerischen Geschichte, full title. English translation: Fragments of the Pomeranian history from which, if one orders the time properly and makes right what is not right, one may well gain a good access to a chronicle. Wilhelm Boehmer, teacher in Stettin and member of the Society for Pomeranian History and Antiquity Studies, rediscovered the handwritten chronicle in Landlord von Loper's library, in Stramel, now Strzmehl, in 1832. In 1835, Boehmer published the transliterated script in a printed book titled Thomas Kantzow's Chronik von Pommern in Niederdeutscher Mundart, samt einer Auswahl aus den übrigen ungedruckten Schriften desselben English translation. Thomas Kantzow's Chronicle of Pomerania in Low German tongue, including a selection of further unprinted scripts of the same, which did not alter Kantzow's spelling. In the preface, Boehmer postulates that the chronicle was written after 1531 or 1532, and a few years before 1538, a determination also followed by Berger, 2001. In ADB and NDB, a date prior to 1538 is assumed. Kantzow's friend Nikolaus, also Niklaus, Clempson, also Clempson, had added a note to the original manuscript's title reading by Thomas Kantzow anno 1538. Also, a second front page was attached to Kantzow's original one, which Boehmer assumed to originate from the ducal chancellery, which read first volume of fragments, from which deceased Thomas Kantzow has written the Chroniken Pomeraniae, written in fracture letters, with 1538 added in another handwriting. The chronicle, written in Pomeranian Low German, covers the history of Pomerania prior to 1536, with the first part beginning with the death of Duke Erich II in 1459 and ending in 1536, and a second and third part beginning in the Slavic period and ending in 1459. While overall the chronicle is not as detailed as later works of Kantzow, it offers a much more comprehensive coverage of the years 1523 to 1536, when Pomerania became Lutheran. Part of the work remains unfinished. Let's delve into the historical origins of Pomerania, encompassing its people and lands. The second chronicle written by Kantzow was the standard German variant of the above-mentioned Low German chronicle, written before 1538 and also rediscovered by Boehmer in von Lerper's library. The title Ursprung, Allzeit VND Geskik der Volker VND Land Pommern Kashuben Wenden VND Rugen English translation. Origin, Oldness and History of the Peoples and Lands of Pomerania, NS Kashubia NS Wendland Resp. Wens and Rugen, was proposed by Kosgarten, who derived it from the preface in Kantzow's manuscript. While the Low German chronicle was not structured, the standard German chronicle is divided into 11 books, the sixth of which is missing in the manuscript. It is not simply a translation of its Low German counterpart, but is more comprehensive, while lacking information about the period after the death of Bogislaw X in 1523. Standard German was chosen over Low German to reach a wider audience, and because the court of Philip I, who had been raised in the High German-speaking electorate of the Palatinate, adopted Standard German as its official language at about the same time the chronicle was written. An edition of the manuscript was first printed by Baron von Medem in 1841 as Thomas Kantzow's Chronik von Pommern in Hochdeutscher Sprache, English translation. Thomas Kantzow's Chronicle of Pomerania in Standard German language. In the edition, von Medem changed Kantzow's spelling to resemble the contemporary one, and filled incomplete parts with fragments of other chronicles of Kantzow. Delve into the origins and history of the Pomerania, Swantland, Wendland and Rugen regions. The Chronicle Ursprung, Allzeit VND Geskik der Volker VND Land Pommern, Kashuben Wenden VND Rugen, same translation as above, was written between 1538 and 1542 and consists of 14 books. Though in part identical with the first standard German chronicle, it is more comprehensive, has an abundance of side notes, yet is also unfinished. Kantzow's manuscript was discovered in 1729 by Albert Schwartz, professor at the University of Greifswald in Zudar, where it was in the possession of the children of deceased pastor Joachim Wildan. Schwartz made a copy which was stored in the library of the university. In 1816, Hans Gottfried Ludwig Kosgarten published a printed edition of Schwartz's copy titled Pomerania oder Ursprung, Allzeit und Geskik der Völker und Land Pommern, Kashuben, Wenden, Stettin, Rugen. Maldan's original had disappeared before 1835, but was rediscovered by Kosgarten in 1836 in the archives of Putbus. In 1897, a largely unchanged transcription of the Putbus manuscript was printed by Georg Giebel in des Thomas Kantzow, Chronik von Pommern in Hochdeutscher Mundart, English translation. Thomas Kantzow's Chronicle of Pomerania in Standard German tongue, Volume I. Forgotten Tale unveils the surprising history of the secret Pomeranian chronicles. Everyone forgot the book vom Alten Pommerland, English translation. Of the Old Pomerania was an incomplete work written in Wittenberg, with 7 writings constituting preparatory works for the 8th one, of which a 9th one is largely a copy written by someone else but corrected by Kantzow. The manuscripts were part of Kantzow's handwritings discovered in the above-mentioned von Lerper's library, and published by Berchmer together with the above-mentioned Low German chronicle. After Kantzow's death, Nikolaus von Klemsen compiled this chronicle from Kantzow's legacy, and published it in 4 books known either as Kantzow's or Klemsen's Pomerania. A corresponding manuscript was discovered only in 1973 in the archives of Copenhagen, Thot 644 fol, proving that Klemsen was merely publishing, not reorganizing Kantzow's chronicle, as was assumed before. A transcription of this chronicle was published as print edition in 1908, before the discovery of the Copenhagen manuscript, by Georg Giebel, titled Pomerania. Ein Pommersche Chronik aus dem 16. Jahrhundert English translation, Pomerania, a Pomeranian chronicle from the 16th century, a forgotten tale of fluffy spies and royal intrigue unfolds in the secret Pomeranian chronicles everyone forgot. These tiny dogs were involved in some seriously clandestine operations.